Should you make an Airbnb in 2023? That's a weird keyword for YouTube, but we're gonna run with it. My name's Sean Rakijic, and the answer is not gonna surprise you. Most of you should not Airbnb in 2023, but it's not a straight answer. Some of you should. There's probably a good few of you who should start an Airbnb in 2023, and we're gonna talk about the exception to the rule, which is you better don't. Welcome back, YouTube world. Yes, I'm mostly having fun with this. It's super cool that the generic YouTube world has caught the Airbnb trend with Airbnb bust and how much my property's losing, and some famous YouTubers have Airbnbs, and that's cool. But what's on the other side of that is you have a lot of people who don't know much trying to say a lot. And that's why I'm here. I'm gonna change your life in a few minutes. If you care about Airbnb at all and wanna think about this seriously, this video is going to completely flip how you regard Airbnb as a business, investment, whatever, and give you a solid opportunity at making some serious cash, if the opportunity is for you. I have over 150 Airbnbs. I crossed the $10 million revenue mark in Airbnb over a year ago. This is my game, and let me teach you. The reason why people care so much about this topic right now is a girl named Shelby Church has been losing money, but a lot of people have been losing money. She's just the most visible example of the gross misunderstanding that the real estate world has with Airbnb. Now, whoever talked her into doing Airbnb should be beaten and dragged through Market Square. Like, they just straight up lied to her, is my opinion. She thought she was getting into something that was passive. Airbnb is not passive, but she was sold on the idea of buying a property, refurbishing it, making it Airbnb friendly, and then having a co-host, like a glorified property manager in the hospitality space, make it passive for her. So she's giving away all of her potential profit to somebody who's running your property for her. She cash flowed negative last year, over $13,000 negative cash flow. And I bet her co-host made more than $13,000 on her property last year. So when she says you shouldn't do Airbnb 2023, I don't blame her. Don't have a co-host if you're gonna get into this. It's not an investment. And that's the next main point here. Short-term rentals are a business model. Airbnb itself is just a software that makes it easy for you to get into the short-term rental space. And what the short-term rental space is it's the hospitality industry. It's not the real estate industry. And this is where the real estate people have the gross misunderstanding. They're like, oh,
since it utilizes real estate, it must be a real estate play.
And that couldn't be farther from the truth. You cannot pick up a property, throw some beds in there, put it on Airbnb, and guarantee profit. That's not how this works. It used to be that easy because early adopters would buy anything on Airbnb just for the novelty value of it. Now that this industry is established and there are serious providers in the space, you need to have good design, you need to have good value delivery, you have to have great customer service, you need to be responsive, you need to have dynamic pricing, you need to be a business owner to get into this industry. And if there's one thing that most YouTubers aren't, they're not scrappy, tenacious business owners. They're influencers, they're soft personalities, they're friendly, you like them, but that doesn't make you a good business owner. It's just the facts. So if you wanted to buy an Airbnb property in 2023, just don't do it. The reason why is property values are gonna pull back anyway. There's really no advantage to purchasing a property to do short-term rentals if that property is going to be worth less a year from now. People say, what about debt pay down? If you got into Airbnb leveraging rentals, it would cost you 10 to 15% of the total cost of buying a property because your down payment, cost of furnishing, everything else. For every property you could buy and furnish, I could launch 8. And with the cash flow that I can get on 8 units, the profit from those 8 units would far outweigh any debt pay down that you could get from year 1. So unless your property was just gonna rip 20% in appreciation in a year, you shouldn't be buying a property anyway to do short-term rentals. If you wanna buy property as a real estate play, as a way to diversify your income because there's nothing else that you can do because you're not a good business owner, yes, you can buy property because property's boring. You can buy stocks because those are boring. If you wanna get into short-term rentals, you have to have the self-awareness and humility to ask yourself, am I ready to be a business owner? Because you should not be bringing in a co-host and giving them 20% of your money. That's the main mistake most people are making today, to try to go passive way too soon. You have the right to go passive when you have employees. I took an entire year off and my team mostly ran my properties well for the majority of that year. But even with this being my 4th business and having run businesses for over a decade, that year had to end because with me gone, the company stopped running the right way. And even I had to come back out of retirement. I could not keep it passive forever. But for those of you who think you might have what it takes to be a business owner, this could be a really cool time coming up, and here's why. Like I said, Shelby Church lost $13,000 in cash flow. That means that after she bought the property, after she renovated it, after she put in furniture, she started to generate cash, and she had to take $13,000 out of her pocket and pay bills with it. Her Airbnb property did not make enough money to cover its own mortgage, internet, cover its own electricity, supplies, co-host, and everything. She had to come out of pocket $13,000. And the Airbnb bust isn't even over yet. There's more to come. The only reason why she can hang on is because she has cash. She's a YouTuber, and YouTube money is really easy money. You can just peel it right out of your Google AdSense account and go pay some bills. But I assure you, for every one Shelby Church that can ride through the storm, there's 10 hosts who can't. What's going to happen is these hosts that run out of liquidity are going to get out of the space. They're going to cancel their leases. They're going to put their homes back into the long-term rental market. They're going to liquidate their furniture, and they're going to run. What this is going to do is this is going to drop the amount of supply in the space, scare all of the hosts out of the market, and we'll have a more level supply and demand curve. Again, combine the change of landscape with the fact that you don't have to be the one to lose the money to learn these lessons. You could call this a fast follower. What happens is when somebody spends a bunch of money, ends up in a hard situation, they get to be the first person to learn that lesson. Just like, say, Uber was the first to the car share market, and then Lyft started to follow Uber and just made sure they never repeated the same mistakes that Uber made. So in this case, you would be the person who follows somebody who left the market and failed, learning from their mistakes, watching these YouTube videos, seeing what everybody says about why they are failing or not. And with that context, you can come in and set up a property the right way from the beginning. Even Shelby Church admitted that her property isn't good enough, and she's laboring to make some changes to meet the market. What we've been doing to update our spaces is we're doing a lot of dark walls. We're designing photos more than we are designing rooms in a way. And this has allowed us to create more interesting hero photos, which is the first photo on Airbnb, to get more clicks. And getting more clicks drives us up in the algorithm and gets us more bookings. We're also being more cost effective. We've always been cost effective in the way that we hire our housekeepers by the hour, but then also our adaptive pricing strategy model is allowing us to stay full while other people aren't. There's a compounding effect there. Not only are we getting some cash in what is a contribution margin industry, and if you don't understand contribution margin, I've got a past video on pricing strategy that discusses this in technicolor. We are collecting cash in a contribution margin industry where getting some money is better than none, and there's many hosts who aren't getting any money and going super broke. And by collecting a little bit of money for some reservations, not only do we have some net cash left, but we also have a better Airbnb ranking at the end of the day because Airbnb cares about occupancy, dynamic pricing, operational efficiencies like housekeeping, and market research. You'd be surprised that there are still some things missing in a market, but I'll tell you, if you ever search for a 4-bedroom house that has gym equipment, you very rarely find anything popping up in search. This is one of the many examples of what I would call underserviced amenities, like ADA accessible, properties that are first floor units with no stairs where somebody can get in with a wheelchair. If you just take gym equipment and ADA accessible, probably going to do really, really well. But this is just breaching the concept of market research. You're going to look for properties that are best in the market that get booked at a higher price, where again, we focus on straightforward, efficient listings that are price efficient, which means we live and die by last minute bookings. But market research can show you listings that get booked 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks in advance. And honestly, that business model is easier to copy too, because you can have a housekeeper that's too expensive, and if your margins are good, you can overpay for housekeeping, at least initially. Down the road, you'll want to build some scale and start hiring your housekeepers by the hour. But for now, if you can't control your costs, swing for the fence on revenue and just make sure you don't cut any corners. There is a danger with doing big luxury properties, which is that everybody else who does big luxury properties are probably good at this. You want to make sure that you don't end up in an overly competitive market. But digressing back, market research will show you which properties are doing well, and it's so easy to copy a listing that's doing the right thing. You literally just copy it. For those of you who do start doing Airbnb in 2023, there's another bonus. When everyone leaves the industry, they're going to have to get rid of their furniture, which means you can buy some furniture on the super cheap. And a lot of people paid full price for furniture, and now they have nothing to do with that stuff. And instead of putting it in storage at like $500 a month for some gigantic storage unit, they might just unload it to you. So in summary, if you are trying to invest in the Airbnb space and buy a property because you heard it'd be cool passive income, you are so sadly mistaken. If you are a real estate person, if you're a landlord, if you want to collect a rent check, run the other way because you don't have what it takes. But if you are scrappy, entrepreneurial, optimistic, love customer service, have a bone for hospitality in you, if you like giving great experiences to people, there will be so many people failing and running from this industry that that's going to make room for you. If you are ready to be a business owner and do what it takes, this can be a great industry to make some money in. Anybody else who tells you it's a bad time to do Airbnb is just a sad real estate investor who failed at hospitality. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, guys, I'll see you on the other side.